I'll give you an idea of what we're working on today. In this series of videos, I want to show you how to build what you see in front of you, which just looks like a big mound of leaves. But, and that's another beauty of this hut, is it blends in really well with the environment. So what you're seeing is the debris shelter. And what you see is the opening of the debris shelter. And that one is built for going down to 40 degrees, like a night like tonight. I would sleep in that shelter and feel like I was in the correct shelter as far as the wall thickness and stuff. But if you'll notice, so here's another view of what we'll be working on today. So what you're seeing is the debris shelter or debris hut. Blends in pretty well, doesn't it? Hey, this is Tracy Nelson with Creation Adventures and Outdoor Education. Thanks for coming and visiting my YouTube channel. I'm going to start today. I'm going to start a series on survival, and I'm just saying survival. I'm not necessarily saying wilderness survival, although it will apply to a wilderness situation as well as any other situation dealing with survival. Okay, and when I use the term survival, this is what I mean. Okay, and I understand there's a lot of channels out there. There's a lot of guys doing this, and that's fine. You choose who you want to listen to and learn from. So I only teach what I have put into practice over the last, say, 30 years. And so I don't teach by just what some people teach by theory or philosophy. But I teach from experience. I've tried these things out. And so when it comes to survival, you're in a survival situation anytime one of your 4 basic needs are not being met. And I was taught years ago when I went to a formal survival school that there's a sacred order that we need to go by when it comes to meeting our basic needs. The first priority is always shelter. The second is always water. The third is fire or warmth. And then the last one is food. Okay, shelter, water, fire, food, in that order. And that when you find yourself one of those things not being met that you need, then you could be in a survival situation. All right, shelter, water, fire, food. Shelter, water, fire, food. It was called the sacred order, and I don't mind telling you, I'd gone to some classes taught by Tom Brown Jr. I think I did 4 different classes, 7-day classes. And kind of a controversial figure in somebody's eyes, and some people, they have different thoughts about him, and that's okay. All I can tell you is the stuff that I learned from him, I put into practice and it worked. That's my experience. You may have a different experience in that. I don't know. So immediately when we started, a friend of mine, we went to those classes together, and after taking a few classes, we decided that we just needed to put into practice what we'd already learned. So we started practicing those things. And so a survival situation, like I said, if one of those things are not met, you could be in the city and the power go out and you have a snowstorm or a blizzard or something, some kind of natural catastrophe, and all of a sudden you don't have those needs being met. And so you could find yourself in a survival situation. All right. So today we're going to go over shelter. And we're going to go over what I believe is the most basic shelter that you can build without any tools, any equipment whatsoever. And it's called the debris shelter. And more important than watching me build the debris shelter is that you get in your mind the concept of why the debris shelter is so effective. And by the way, it has to be built correctly for it to work. And so far in the last, I took the first class from Tom Brown Jr. at the Tracker School in 1992. So, you know, we're looking at over 30 years that I have been building these shelters and sleeping in them to try them out. And I've tried them out in all kinds of weather, in all kinds of situations. I have found them to be very effective. I won't say that I haven't gotten cold in them, but I haven't got to the place where I was in some kind of danger from, you know. So I've slept in them when it's raining, in cold weather, in the snow, in the heat, and I have found it to be a good shelter. That's my experience. Now I don't live in Alaska or somewhere like that. I live in the southern Appalachian Mountains, and so take that what it's worth. All right. So we'll do the debris shelter, and okay. So what you're seeing now, I'm not in the middle of nowhere, by the way. I'm not in the wilderness. I'm on the back part of my property, and so I'm not far from the house. This is my demonstration area where I teach classes, or one of my demonstration areas. And what you see is a partially built debris shelter. And I'm going to point these parts out to you. I've torn it apart. But this is the first thing you'll look for right here is your ridge pole. Now, let's talk a little bit about location. Where you locate this thing is really important to get the most out of your shelter as far as warmth and insulation and keeping you from the elements. So you really don't want to build it down along a stream or a river or something, because the air is cooler down there, plus you've got the potential of getting caught in some kind of flood. So higher ground is good. I always point mine east. That's east, and the reason is I can get the morning sun. Okay, now you also want to look around, make sure you're not building it in the middle of some kind of ant hill or yellow jacket nest. Make sure you don't have, you know, dangerous or harmful critters that's going to hurt you. Also, you don't want to build it right in the middle of a game trail, like a deer trail or something like that. That's animals going to come along and possibly run into your shelter, or anyway create some kind of problem. Especially in bear country, you don't want to build it on a game trail like a bear trail or something. All right, so this first part is your ridge pole, and your ridge pole so your ridge pole needs to be a stout log, or you know, probably about the size, maybe the size of your calf, depending on how big you are. Something that's going to hold up a little weight, and it can be dead but not rotten. And I cheated on this one. I cut it with a chainsaw because I plan on being here a while and using it over and over when I'm teaching. All right, and so you build this thing to your body size, and so you use your body to measure what you need. All right, so on this ridge pole, the way you measure it is you need one that's going to be several, maybe 2 to 3 feet longer than you can reach. All right, so if I'm reaching up here and I'm measuring, I need something going up about 2 to 3 feet, okay, above my hands, above my fingertips. I need for it. It's better if it's too long than too short. I can always cut it down, but if it's too short, you're not going to be able to build this thing to specs, and it's not going to work correctly. I must emphasize that this thing has to be built correctly for it to work efficiently. If you want it to insulate correctly and keep water off and everything else, it must be built correctly. Now, once I get the ridge pole, the height, now I'm using a tree, and I did tie it to a tree. But if I don't have a tree, I can use a big rock, a boulder, a stump, anything to prop this thing on, okay? But I had cordage, and I chose this site because it's a good demonstration area. But this thing, the opening, this is going to be your opening, needs to be crotch high, okay? That's how high it needs to be for me. So this is going to be different for you than for me, but right here, this is where mine's going to be. I'm building it to my specs. Second thing, when we're thinking about we want to make sure we get in and see our ridge pole is going to split our body, and I want to move about a hand length away from the tree, and I want to make sure that my feet clear down here at the bottom. So I have to prop this up with a rock. Okay, I want to make sure my feet clear, and I want to mark a spot about 6 inches all the way down my body, all the way down to my feet, and all the way up here, going out on both sides, and that's going to be a place for these limbs right here, these sticks called ribbing. So here's my ridge pole, and here's my ribbing. Okay, so I clear here about 6 inches because I need to be able to move a little bit, but I also want it to make sure my insulation is good. I measure a hand length from the tree. All right, my feet clear, so I'm good on that aspect. I'm ready for the ribbing, and the ribbing is just really simple to look at here. That's just going to be stuff about wrist size, diameter, and maybe even larger. And I'm going to lean those ribbing. It can stick up a little bit, but I don't want it sticking way up because I'm going to cover this thing with debris. So my next stage is to go and collect all this ribbing and do it on both sides. Remember, I've kind of got a line about 6 inches from my body that I've marked out. And I'm going to put that ribbing down for that. And then after that, I'm going to add debris. So we'll come back and see how it's going in just a second.